Okay, I spent some time evaluating the speaker in more detail and decided to go ahead and move forward with the restoration. Again, you're looking at it now. Appears to be out of the Ward's airline, 62, 164. Again, it's a little 5-inch electromagnetic dynamic speaker, and here you can see I'm just breaking everything down, desoldering the wires and taking some time to document the existing connections. Even with the DC resistance of the output transformer looking normal, I will spend some time at the conclusion to go back in and understand the turns ratio of the actual output transformer, really just for my edification, and also just confirm for the owner of the speaker that it is a right match for the particular output tube. Here I am just sizing things up and understanding the fasteners that were used and how the assembly of the speaker basket itself attaches itself back to the field coil assembly. You can see there just a couple fasteners and a lot of rust here, which was kind of surprising because some of this was covered up again by the field coil that I'm showing here. The old output transformer again tests well, a little rusty but not bad. But again, you can see all the rust on the field coil. Now, one thing interesting, that centerpiece around the field coil collar itself, around the center pole piece, I could not remove it from the frame. So there is a humbucking coil, and the humbucking coil was on the downside there in the photo, but I could not break it loose. So there's probably some epoxy or something that was used. So I did notice too that the center pole piece inside the tube itself, or the winding for the field coil, is a little out of skew, which is concerning. I had that same issue there on the Philco 41280. Here you can see I've again got more of the parts and pieces broken down, and just starting to evaluate the de-rusting steps that it will take to move forward. Let's take a look at the speaker spider that was used for that period. This is, I think, the second or third one that I've actually rebuilt now that uses one of these older type spiders. Interesting design. And I'll show you the technique in just a bit that I use to reproduce the spider instead of using a modern day spider. Here again, I just wanted some photos for reference so I could better understand how deep the voice coil was inside the magnetic field, and also took time to measure, of course, the voice coil itself. It was about 13 millimeters in total height, and about 4 to 5 millimeters of that was made up by the voice coil itself. Just a few more photos here for future reference, as well as taking my X-Acto knife and going around the speaker frame and just trying to get all the residue off where the surround and gasket was attached to the speaker. Again, that frame you're looking at is 5 inches total. I've got a little 4.5-inch cone that I'll use. Again, you can see just some of the work that lies ahead here. Just again breaking everything down. Took about maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes or so just to break everything down. In the upcoming photo here, you'll see what I'm talking about as far as the center pole piece. So the again, the field coil there you can see is kind of mashed off to the side, and it lessens the gap on that side, so I'll do my best to try to square that up so when we insert the new voice coil down in that gap, we don't have rubbing around that center pole piece. So again, kind of the same issue that I mentioned earlier on the Philco 41280 that I had to deal with as well. Again, I'll take time to dress up these leads on the output transformer at the conclusion of the project. And again, just pulling out some of the hand tools here to get the rivets out of the little spider basket there. And again, I'm probably not going to use fasteners here to go back with. I'll recreate the spider again, which I mentioned just a bit ago, show you the process for doing that, but I'll probably just lay some epoxy down. That'll make it easier for the next person that has to get in here and recon the speaker should that be necessary. Close up again of the spider. I tried to take it out and not create any damage itself. You can see it's warped over time. And this is not a good angle of it, but the voice coil was kind of sitting in there sideways. Now again, some of that may just be the stress or the pressure from the cone itself being distorted, and or the pole piece not being aligned. So that's most likely what occurred. Some bad luck you can see on my part. It looks like the former itself that was used for the coil was made in two sections, or for whatever reason it fell apart just below the coil itself, which I can't explain. I was not handling it in a difficult or harmful way, and it just fell apart in my hands. But again, this thing is many years of age on it. So you guys have seen me use my new coil winder, pulled it back out, made a new coil, 3 ohms DC resistance, and now I moved on to the spider itself. Just took it to the flatbed scanner, scanned a few copies, cut that out, and then we'll use some spray adhesive here, and I'll attach it to a playing card. I actually have some blank playing cards that are white on both sides. Can't find them, so I don't know what I did with them. They're misplaced somewhere or boxed up somewhere. So I just pulled out another one that I had. It seems like the material itself that was used for the playing cards, again just 1 card thickness, is a really good match for the spider. I had really good success doing that in the past, so I'm going to follow that same technique. Instead of putting a modern day spider in there, I elected just to go back with a replacement. Made it just a little bit wider. I cut on the outside here, and you can see again I'm just continuing to cut. And then I stiffened it up just a little bit and put a couple coats of just super glue over it as well. And then just finished off the card there with some more of a black dye type substance. So we don't see the playing card information on the back. That's more just for aesthetics itself, and really adds no value to the mechanical strength of the spider. Here you can see I've got everything sized up. The de-rusting's complete, and I'm starting to just kind of do a dry run of putting everything back together. The de-rusting process went really smooth, and I was actually able to save the nomenclature here on the speaker, which was kind of surprising. Again, I just kind of spot treated the rust in that area on the field coil assembly. You can see the output transformer, it cleaned up really good, and here I am starting to just pull out some of the old hardware, and then going to my assorted hardware and looking for matching. Some of that hardware I actually damaged when I was trying to remove it, so actually placed some new hardware in there when I was putting this together, and also used some locking washers and some Loctite just to make sure everything stayed down snug. And you can see the shims again. I just used some playing cards around that center pole piece, because I had mentioned earlier how out of alignment it was. So you can see here, using the shims, the playing cards were thick enough in there to really kind of bring that thing back into alignment. Then I snugged everything down and just confirmed the alignment. And then we'll start here now next with getting the spider back in place. Here again, just a dry fit of the voice coil to make sure I don't have any rubbing. The spider was a really good fit for the 3/4 inch voice coil. Again, I had to do a little filing there on the spider itself and just kind of expand that diameter just to make it a better fit there. And you can see here again I'm using some epoxy at those 3 corner locations in lieu of any hardware. And then I've got shims back in again. I've got that 4.5 inch paper cone back on that you can see, and again I'm just doing a dry fit here just to make sure everything is nice and snug. And here you can see some epoxy is in place now to attach the cone back to the voice coil itself. After everything's set up here, I took time to dress up the leads coming from the voice coil and reattach them to the terminal points, and you can see the gaskets back on. And we'll let everything set up and cure for about 24 hours. We'll come back and see what kind of results we get. Okay, here's that little 5-inch speaker you guys have been wanting to probably hear now, since we've been taking a look at it here with some of the photos that I've been sharing. As you can see, though, it's got the same look and feel of a older speaker. I reused the same gasket. Again, the speaker cone being modern day, you got your surround here on this side. I used some felt for the dust cap, and I've still got to do a little cleanup here of some of the dressing on the wires themselves and get the plug put in. But let me share what I'm doing right here. This radio, if you look at the schematic for the Ward's Airline 62164, I'm assuming that is the correct speaker for that particular radio, which I have not been able to confirm, nor have I checked the output transformer just to validate the turns ratio. But the output tube is a 6F6 in my Zenith 5S29. And the 62164 actually uses a type 42. Electrically, they're the same, so the load resistance of the output tube should match this output transformer, which leads me to be able to drive the speaker output transformer using my Zenith 5S29 that's already in that cradle. Now, one thing different, the field coil on this particular speaker is 1.5K, and the Zenith 5S29 is about 800 ohms. So what I've done is use the field coil for the 5S29 and have it tied in from the original speaker, and then I'm using my DC power supply and driving about 55 milliamps of current into the or through the field coil to create that magnetic field. So let's turn this up just a bit and just listen to the speaker. Again, my radio still has some potential issues, and it hasn't been completely restored, so the audio quality is far from perfect, but some of that is just due to the performance of the radio itself. It seems that I have some bias issues.
$36,000. I still own it. Lived in it first, turned it into a rental property long ago. So $45,000 then, what's it worth today?
I will estimate, I haven't talked to any realtor or anything like that, but I will estimate.
I appreciate you watching and subscribing to my channel.